The so-called Gang of Four, who've now been locked up for 6 months. Now the rebels are crushed, the trains are running on time again.
You're very hard-working.
Very few Chinese really know what happens in China.
The Soviet Union had degenerated social imperialist.
Do you find the Chinese are as worried about the Russians as you've said you are?
Very much so. They seem exactly the same build-up of arms as I see, and they wonder what for.
No foreigner, and probably very few Chinese, really know what happens in China. But we've had a few more hints as we've travelled around this country of 800 million people in the past few days as to just how restless China has been for 2 years now, and how parts of the country came near to taking sides in a civil war. The cause of the crisis, displayed graphically in wall posters nearly everywhere you look, was the dispute between the new Chairman Hua and Madame Jiang Qing, wife of the late Chairman Mao. She's now portrayed as a witch, because it said she and 3 accomplices known as the Gang of Four, or the Shanghai Mafia, tried to stage a coup against Chairman Hua after Mao's death. Here in Shanghai docks, we're told the so-called Gang of Four tried to organize an uprising, but the army itself stayed loyal to Hua and the rebels were arrested. But it was a close-run thing. The rebels had won a lot of support, particularly in heavy industry like the shipyards, and they're said to have organized strikes and production cutbacks. I asked the management of one factory how supporters of the Gang of Four were now being punished.
And the main way is to educate them. And
what does educate mean? Does that mean punishment?
Well, not necessarily. Just try to persuade them to, know the crimes of the Gang of Four and expose their crimes so that they can make amends.
The railways, we're told, were one of the main targets of the Gang of Four. In their revolutionary enthusiasm, the rebels argued that punctuality was bourgeois and that socialist trains shouldn't run on time. Well, the Chinese say, now the rebels are crushed, the trains are running on time again, and discipline and efficiency are returning to industrial and farm production. But China still has problems, with the drought in the north and increasing demands from some quarters for some kind of liberalization of the country's tight political and economic system. The worry for China's new leaders is that it's now beginning to wear a little thin, blaming the problems of the country on the so-called Gang of Four, who've now been locked up for 6 months. Peter Snow, ITN, China.
Very happy to be here.
Very nice to see you.
Very nice to meet you.
Mrs. Thatcher, why have you made this time available to come to China?
Because it's one of the largest countries, some 800 million people, and I think anyone who aspires to be the leader of a nation must make the opportunity to talk to leaders of other nations. It's very important to meet them and to see the circumstances in their own country for oneself.
Hi.
Welcome to you. Did you have some rest?
May I first thank the Minister for giving me the opportunity.
And what about your rest?
不能，这半边天的这一部分的成果。
I think I'm after some run the training school in London.
这个尤德大使说啊。
It's entirely natural that we should seek to influence Soviet policy and to impress upon Soviet leaders our determination to protect our freedom. We can do this most effectively if we come together as European nations, for example at the forthcoming Belgrade conference, or in concerting our attitude to talks on strategic arms limitation between the United States and the Soviet Union. I don't say this because I believe that we should be in any way provocative towards the Soviet Union or anyone else. We don't seek a confrontation.
Now, what happened one morning?
The teacher took the class through a story, all about a Russian who bought himself a new Soviet-made electric razor, which went up in smoke when he plugged it in.
What message do you get from the report, from the article?
The Soviet-made goods are of poor quality, and the service there is also bad.
And their services are intolerable.
Their services are intolerable. Now, why are Soviet goods so poorly made, and why are their services so bad?
The Soviet Union has degenerated social imperialist.
The Soviet Union, under the Brezhnev rule of the revisionist clique, has degenerated into what? Yes, has degenerated into a social imperialist country.
I talked to some of the students afterwards. Is that really what you think of the Russians? Are the Russians really so bad?
Yes, I think the Soviet Union is very bad under the rule of the Brezhnev clique.
The revisionist clique?
Because I think the Soviet Union is no longer a socialist country. It has degenerated into the social imperialist country.
You're very hardworking. How do you do? Welcome to us. How do you do? British ambassador. 是英国大使。
打死我认识。是第一次来，还不太熟悉。
This is only your first visit.
I hope that will be so.
我
I
希
look
望
forward to coming again.
我希望今后还可以来，看完以后再来。
第一次嘛，就意味着是一个开始，不是第一次是结束。
The first time means the beginning, not the end.
所以还会第二次。
The time of your stay this time is very short. 顶峰。今天天气很好，那个是去访问的非常理想。
Yes.
You can see that actually the other part was still in its original state and was a little bit ruined and
Yes,
crumbled down.
And left like that, yes. Come on forward.
Well, Mrs. Thatcher, you've got as far as Edward Heath got up the wall. How are you feeling?
Well, I think we've all got as far as we can go. We can't go any further. I'm feeling fine. It's a steep climb, but I think the secret is to take it steadily and slowly. Climbing Big Ben's quite good practice.
What have you learnt in China?
I don't think you can get an accurate impression of China just from reading about it. I think you have to come here and see. And then, of course, so far, we've only seen Peking and some of the surrounding areas. But it's a very realistic experience. It's full of people. One really does get the impression of people everywhere, and so far as we've been in the countryside as well, and an impression of intensive agriculture. They have to, because although the country is very big, the agricultural areas are comparatively small, and so everywhere they're concentrating on getting up the yield from the soil.
Do you find it a bit odd that you, as someone who represents conservatism, capitalism in the West, has got such a big welcome from a communist country like China?
No, I think all of us who deal in international affairs recognize that you can't only deal with countries which have exactly the same political system as you do. After all, I'm afraid it's only a minority of countries in the world that are our kind of democracy. And if we only dealt with those, then we should be very restricted indeed. And also, we have to work with other countries the world over. So it's important to know what they think.
Do you find the Chinese are as worried about the Russians as you've said you are?
Very much so. They seem exactly the same build-up of arms as I see, and they wonder what for. It's not only on land, it's on sea, and in the air too. And they, after all, have a very long border with the Russians.
What do you think we have in common with them on this point?
Fear that we might be the subject of aggression, and I think a determination that we will try to deter any aggression before it starts.
If you're ever in government, I mean, do you see some kind of alliance with China as being conceivable?
No, I think my approach would be to have good relations with as many countries as we possibly can. I'm sure that's the way to go about these things. The more you know of people, the more difficult it is to quarrel with them.
Finally, is there any way you would say you approve of the system in China?
I think one has seen what they have done in raising the standard of living from what I believe was a very, very low standard indeed. That, of course, is always welcome.
But you wouldn't run Britain on these lines?
Oh, no. No. Our standard of living, of course, is way, way, way beyond anything that's envisaged here. You saw that when you visited the housing yesterday. No, we're under quite different circumstances, and after all, we've lived under a very different and a much freer system as far as individuals are concerned. Here there is the one main political party, the one main political doctrine, and others are not permitted.
Thank you very much indeed. Mrs. Thatcher has caught quick glimpses of a country whose politics are totally alien to her, but whose sights and sounds have captivated her.
Trying to show the depth of the goldfish in water, and some are near, some are in deep water.
Some are deep water.
One of the
done in the classical style.
这个是传统风格吧 The traditional style.
I think the traditional style is beautiful. You can see the work of the master in this, I think. Yes.
从这个里面也可以看到你老师的这个心血。See, this part was meant to represent the small path in the countryside. With some little stream.
2 days earlier, Mrs. Thatcher had met the new Chairman Hua in person. Now, here he was, all woven in silk.
If I get, I should be desperate to pick that piece of red cotton off, you know, and it doesn't. You see, there's a piece of red cotton there.
Disembarking on the island wasn't so easy.
There we are. Carol, I'm sure that is a better way. The small ones find the big ones too much.
After feeding the fish, Mrs. Thatcher took a few moments to meet the people.
30 months, nearly 2 years old. Yes, couldn't be 4 months.
30 months.
Well, no, I knew it couldn't be 4. No, I knew it couldn't be 4 months. He's very big. He must be more than 30. He's very big for 30 months.
And finally, a ride on the smartest train in China. The Chinese have had good reason to keep their red carpet rolling for Mrs. Thatcher. They like the way she talks about the Russians. But what they make of her politics, they very politely wouldn't say. What does she make of theirs?
Of course, one recognizes that their political system is completely different from ours, and I think that ours obviously is infinitely superior because it gives much more scope to the individual to live his own life. We try to keep politics out of a lot of things and leave the decisions to individuals and to families and to other groups. They seem to have politics into everything, and there's a correct view. That wouldn't suit us, but for the time being, it's what operates here.